This is the Enter the Function Developers Toolkit playthrough.
So now we're going to break down the character which is used in the development kit. There's no user interface on it as that was being handled by Dion. If I drag over the first person character blueprint, we can see that there's many additional functions added on top of the basic model that's included in Unreal's starter content. So things that I've added in is the sprint function, which is programmed to left shift, which simply on a flow adds max walk speed, which sets the max walk speed at 600, and if left shift is pressed, sets the max walk speed to 900, through a float variable, which we can adjust accordingly. So I could set it to 1200 or a million if I wanted to. Crouch function, which plays on the built-in function which is unticked by default. All you've got to do is bind it to a key. This is bound to C. When pressed, if true, if the player character movement is crouching, uncrouch, if not, crouch. The main unique aspect here is the pickup item, which is done via a line trace. So what it's doing is from the first person camera it's getting the world location and the forward vector, which we're timesing by 300, and if something is found, where is it? The physics handle. So if we can find the target location within that 300 forward vector, it will be able to set that we are holding an object. We can pick it up, we can drop it, all on E-press. Movement, nothing there, just removed all the VR capabilities. Stick input just works if a controller's plugged in. Mouse, that's all the same. That's pretty much it for the character. So like I say, if we just jump in quickly, space to jump, E to interact, which we can see there is a line trace turned on that only reaches so far. Control, sorry, not C, is crouch, and shift is sprint. Okay, so just quickly looking at the blueprints for the button for the dropper and the dropper itself. So over here we have the dropper, which is named dropper remote, which means it's looking for an event dispatcher of button press. So if a button is pressed, which is this, and just to quickly clear up, I did say it worked on line trace, it works on begin overlap. So if a player overlaps the volume of the button, it can enable input or disable input if it's not. What it does is on interact, which is E-press, it will call the event dispatcher button pressed. And then it will disable the input print string saying button press and delay. The delay is for the animation or timeline, which is the door move, which we will see in a second. So what it does is if the player is overlapping the button and the event dispatcher of button pressed is called, we can bind the event of button pressed, which has a unique variable to in the engine. Here we go. Where is it? Or is it this? Yeah, I just need to quickly ungroup these. Unlock. So there. The default variable, we are able to use the dropper, the eyedropper, to find a button to press. This also works for the pressure pads. So if I want that to be triggered by a pressure pad, all I'd have to do is click this actor from scene and select that. So back to the blueprints quickly. So as I said, on event begin play, if button pressed is called by the button that we've bound to this dropper, we can then trigger the custom event of dropper open, flip-flop, so play or reverse, and just trigger the doors on the bottom of the dropper to open, dropping the cube for the player. So just a little quick example of that. So overlap, E to trigger, doors open, cube dropped, and then it reverses.
Okay, so another feature that was lightly included were spline platforms, which we saw in the second chamber room. This was a free moving one, like we see here, that just constantly goes backwards and forwards between on the spline track using a timeline. We'll have a look at that in a minute. We've also got different kinds of spline platforms developed. This one is a rising spline, which moves in one direction when the player is still on it. As soon as the player comes off of it, it returns to its start location. Again, another just automatic spline. With this one, On event overlap, we press the button, it moves to one place, we move off, it moves home on its own accord. This one, press, but also in mid we can press to reverse the timeline, which triggers the spline platform to move. Another element that I didn't get round to implementing is ball rolling mechanics. We'll quickly move up there in a second, but it's just the same principle of different moving platforms. Oh yes, this one works on E-press. There we go. This one works on the same principle. And as you can guess, so does this one. And boom! There goes the ball. So as you can tell, these are all designed for a rolling ball puzzle. Just a little demonstration of what the rolling ball... Oops. Forget, I've got to move myself. 1, 2, 3. There we go. So as the ball sets off, if we quickly do that to shut off the path. We didn't make it in time. But the ball will come down here. It's up to us to hit that. It'll bounce down, roll down here, and into this catcher, which works on the same principle as the pressure pads that we showed earlier. So just quickly, I'm just going to show the two-way moving platform in the third and final room. Very simple, very proud of it. This was built completely of my own design, no tutorial help, no external help from YouTube or anything. So basically, if we look at it, just to reiterate ourselves, forward and backwards, stand on it and hold E. So quite simply, on overlap, first person character, enable input, we're going to set a custom event, a custom variable on forward. And we'll do the same for on backward. It'll print a string to say if it is. So on begin overlap, are we on the platform? Yes. If not, we can set no, not on the platform, which will then follow through and trigger the animation, the event timeline, to go into the reverse mode. But if we're standing on forward or backward and we're pressing the interact key, which is E, we can go into play. If not, if we're on backwards, we can go into the reverse. There's that delay I was talking about, the 10-second delay, and it just simply works on a spline path that we can drag to our desired length. And that is pretty much it.